they can expect possession, they can expect penance, and they can expect pyrotechnics.
Welcome to WatchMojo's Poppin the Culture, your weekly pop culture experience. Me? Well, I'm your host, Mr. Hollywood himself, Matt Demers. Today, I'll be chatting with actress Carly Pope about the indie horror film Demonic. Plus, I'll have an interview with Daniel Farrands and Holland Roden about their movie, Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman. That's all coming your way, but first, let's jump into some Hollywood headlines. All right, for those that don't know, this is the part of the show where we like to dissect some of the more interesting developments out there in Hollywood. And guess what? She's back to help me out. WatchMojo's Kirsten-Ria is here. Hey, Kirsten, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Hey, before we jump into some of the news topics, I got to mention this because I started following you after the last time you were on your socials, and I was seeing some really amazing cosplay, and I had no idea. I had no idea you did this. Talk to some people that might not know, that might not be entrenched in the cosplay world, because I'm pretty familiar. I go to a lot of Comic Cons, and you see these people dress up. Explain that, and maybe some of your faves, and we'll, for those that are watching, we'll throw it up, and for those that are listening, just take our word for it. They're pretty amazing.
Thank you. I actually only properly got into cosplay maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. It's always something I've been interested in, but just never kind of fully committed to. And then since I started kind of working from home, I started getting into it more, and people seem to really enjoy it. So it's just I just love being able to cosplay as characters that I just really enjoy. I did one of Gwenum, which I think that photo shoot just turned out like fantastic. I was like, oh my god, it looks like a movie trailer. And I've been trying to kind of make my own props and weapons and things like that recently. And it takes a lot of learning. It takes a lot of commitment and a lot of money. You don't realize how much money. But some people are very, very talented when it comes to cosplay. I am pretty much a noob, but I'm very skilled at the Photoshop. So if something doesn't quite look the way I want it to, it's fine. I just edit it on. Nobody needs to know. I just take the photos in my room, but I edit myself in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, no, it's really great. It's really great. And if people want to find out more or see more, I guess, where do they go, Kirsten?
You can follow me on pretty much all my socials. Instagram is the main one. It's at Kirsten-Ria with 2 A's.
Yeah, I'll be watching because I was always, every picture, every costume, cosplay, I'm always impressed. All right. Thank you. Speaking of impressed, some people are impressed, some people might not be impressed. Dexter is coming back. And yes. the reason why some people aren't excited is because the finale left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. This might be a return to form. They want to correct that because Dexter was so hot. It was
great.
Yeah, no, honestly, people binged it. People loved it. It was a phenomenon. Here's what we know, and I want your take on it.
Okay.
So, obviously, our lead, Michael C. Hall, is returning.
Yes.
The story is taking place 7 or 8? It's 8 years following the events of the finale. So they're kind of erasing that. He's now living in New York City. So what he's up to, we don't know. And we've got 10 episodes. 10 episodes coming to Showtime. It's November 7th. You're going to want to mark that on your calendars. Did you watch? It sounds like you watched, Dexter.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm a huge horror fan. My mum started watching it and she told me about it. And I just thought it was fantastic, kind of having this anti-hero sort of serial killer that was actually quite lovable. And I guess you could kind of be on his side because he was doing it in a sense of only kind of getting these bad guys. But yeah, it did kind of get to the point where I watched it because I loved it so much, and I loved the character of Dexter, and I loved Deborah as well, and you just kind of wanted to see where it would go and if he could get away with it. But yeah, the last season it did fall a little bit flat, and I did kind of feel like they were just kind of trying to quickly wrap it up as if people weren't still interested. But I think people kind of forget that things like this, they do have a bit of a niche audience, but you have to kind of appeal. You can't just kind of throw it away when you think that you're not kind of getting a big enough outreach, because the true fans still want a good ending. So I think the people that really did love Dexter back in the day are super, super excited to have it back. And fingers crossed they can do it some justice.
Yeah, no, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't one of those people that wants to see it do good. Because, yeah, that finale was just... And I don't know if they ran out of money in that final season, but the production
it
quality...
felt like it.
Like, what happened here?
Yeah.
Showtime.
Yeah.
So hopefully the production quality is great. But they've done this with other shows, right? Remember X-Files came back?
Yeah.
And it was so successful, they brought it back again. So this could be another one of those situations where, who knows, if this does really well, maybe Dexter will come back again and again and again and be our favorite serial killer once again.
Friendly neighborhood serial killer.
There you go. All right, so we'll keep our eyes on that when it comes out. Speaking of keeping your eyes on, listen, I've been refreshing my feed for months and months and months, waiting for the Matrix Revolutions trailer, and guess what? We finally got it. We finally got it, and I've been watching it on a loop. Hey, I'm obsessed with the original Matrix. The following two in the series were okay. Yeah, I'll need to do a rewatch. But this new one looks very, very promising. And listen, the fans like myself, we all want to dissect that trailer and say, well, what's going on? What's happening here? Have you seen the trailer before we get into the specifics?
Yes, my partner actually showed it to me yesterday. I remember hearing about the new Matrix a while ago, and I just kind of brushed it off, thinking like, it's not going to happen. And he kind of briefly showed me the trailer and was like, oh, guess what this is? And I was like, another John Wick. And he was like, it's the Matrix. And I was like, what? I was like, they've actually done it. But yeah, there is definitely some strong John Wick vibes, but I think it's just because Keanu has kept the locks and stuff. But it looks very interesting. I'm very, very intrigued. And I mean, who doesn't love more Keanu Reeves? So
yeah,
I'm for it.
No, I'm definitely for it. And the trailer looks great. I mean, the stuff that I saw looks great. The story, I mean, is there any point trying to piece it together? They'll explain it all. They're probably throwing us off. I love that you mentioned John Wick, because my favorite fan theory, and it's totally not.
And I know exactly what you're going to say.
It was, as I'm sure a lot of people put the dots together, but Chris Killian on Twitter says, just imagine how insane it would be if Neo has been living in a John Wick simulation for the past 10 years, and then John Wick remembers he is Neo. Hey, I would love that movie.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, just from watching the trailer, if someone actually said, actually, this is what is happening and this is completely canon and they are linked, I'd be like, yeah. Like, okay, I'll watch it. It's fine. Yeah, it looks incredible. I'm really, really excited to just see what they're going to do with it, because they've got so many callbacks to the original. So, yeah, I'm very intrigued.
People are curious about Morpheus. That's not Fishburne.
No. I mean, it's very, very young. Morpheus. So have they gone back in the past? Is it going to be kind of like a big time loop?
And why doesn't Neo remember? But someone pointed out that in a video game, the Matrix video game, Morpheus bit the dust, so he's no longer with us. Okay. I don't know if that's canon. Someone mentioned that, so maybe it's a different Morpheus. Maybe it's a Morpheus in different. Who knows?
A different Matrix.
Yeah. So. So lots of stuff. You can go online and get stuck in a rabbit hole trying to decipher it. My favorite is the John Wick, though.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, probably 1% of that happening, but it would be amazing if it did. All right, we do have time. One more thing I want to talk about, because I know a lot of people that watch this are video game fans. And there was a lot of excitement recently about a new Wolverine video game teaser that came out. And man, it got a lot of people excited. It's from the same people that did the Spider-Man video game. It's coming to PlayStation, and yeah, it definitely looks pretty cool. I mean, it's just a teaser, but I think people really want a Wolverine video game. Why do you think that is?
I mean, X-Men was just such a fantastic comic and series, And obviously Wolverine is just kind of, I feel like he's just kind of everyone's fan favorite. You know, when they did the movie Logan and stuff, he's just such an interesting character, and it's hard not to like him. So I think having a video game based around a character that is just pretty badass, and then hopefully maybe getting some origin story and stuff. I know we've got that with the films, but kind of playing through that. Yeah, I think he's just an easy win. He's just a character that you say Wolverine, you're like, oh yeah, I like Wolverine. You can't not like Wolverine.
No, I'm with you, and I 100% agree. You know, it'll kind of fill that void before we get another movie, because now that we know that Hugh Jackman is hung up the claws.
Yeah.
You know, we
Fills
gotta wait.
The void.
Yeah, we gotta wait and see what happens. So this video game will be pretty cool for us Wolverine fans. Do you play a lot of video games, Kirsten?
I do play a lot of video games when I can. I used to play them obviously a lot more when I was younger, but now, you know, you get old and you have a family and stuff. It's trying to fit in the times. But I've got a few select games that are on my radar that I'm like, I will be dedicating time to these games. So yes, huge video game fan, video game nerd. So yeah, it looks good. I'm excited.
And you can get a lot of cosplay inspiration. I've realized.
Yes, definitely.
I've seen a lot of cosplay. I'm like, who is that? And then they always tell me it's from a video game, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
So you can get a lot of inspiration. Okay, I need you to stay right there, Kirsten, because me and you, well, we got to go beyond the list. All right, Kirsten, I'm really excited for this one, because usually what I do, we pluck a top 10 list from the WatchMojo archives, and we like to go over it and give some honest opinions, see, did they get it right? WatchMojo rarely gets it wrong, who are we kidding? But this one is all about the scariest horror movie villains. And this is something that I'm really looking forward to, because I love me some horror films. This is a redux, so this came out in 2017. There was one previously, so they kind of reduxed it. Maybe they'll do another one. So keep that in mind when we go through the list. But what I was going to say is usually I go through to get an idea of the ranking and to refresh my memory. I haven't done that, so I'm excited to find out as we go through it.
Okay.
And we know that you're a horror fan, right?
Oh, yes. Huge horror fan. Huge.
I had to wait for you to do this list in particular. So here we go. All right, number 10. Oh, this is interesting. The scariest horror movie villain, number 10 on the list, is the entity in It Follows. I love that movie, 2014. Yeah. And I guess, the entity doesn't, that's the thing that follows you and takes over. Man, I want to rewatch that movie.
It's definitely worth a rewatch. I think I only watched it once and I was like, it was okay. I didn't find it too scary. I think fear is subjective. So there's certain things that would probably freak me out that wouldn't freak you out. However, the only one that I remember in It Follow that scared the crap out of me is the tall man in It Follows, and it's just this like 7 foot tall. I have a real big thing for body horror, and the way he has to kind of duck under the door frame, and nope, that was me. I was like, actually, you know what, this film is a little scary, but I can understand why it's at number 10. Let's just say that.
Yeah, so it's at number 10, folks. Don't worry. Okay, number 9. I would have put him a lot closer to the top. It's Chucky. Chucky is number 9. I guess, okay. I know a lot of people out there see Chucky and they kind of laugh, right? Because this is doll with a knife. I don't know. He's kind of scary. If you're a kid, he's really scary.
Yeah, I think, if you're a child and you watched it when you were a kid, then it's definitely scary. But I think as Chucky's also got older, he's gone from being this horror icon to kind of like a comedy horror sort of character. So I think that's why he's kind of higher up on the list, is he's not kind of like a bona fide like scary guy. He's kind of like, I'm evil, but I'm not too scary anymore. I'm just here for the lulz.
That's true. Okay. Hide the knives, though, when you got a doll in the house. Regan McNeil, the possessed Regan McNeil from the Demon Pazuzu in The Exorcist, comes in at number 8. Yeah, pretty freaky stuff here with the head turning, the pea soup. You know what really gets me, though, is the crab walk down the stairs. Oh.
For me, it's physically how she looks. Like, she would be number one for me. She traumatized me as a child. I still have yet, as a horror fan, have yet to watch The Exorcist because she scares me so much. So for me, Reagan would be number one on this list. But that's just, again, that's what scares me. Nope.
Yeah, Possession. I mean, those movies really get me too.
Yeah.
It really taps into something. I don't know why.
Yeah.
All right, number 7. Hey, this is a little topical here. It's the Candyman. Candyman. Hey, we talked last time you were on about the movie. We were all very excited about it. I've seen it.
Yes.
I loved it. Did you see it, by the way, the new one?
No, I haven't seen it. I wasn't aware that it'd come out already, and then I started seeing a lot of stuff about people talking about Candyman, and I was like, oh, I missed it. So, it's on my radar to kind of try and see if I can go to the cinema and watch it. It looks really, really good. So I'm hoping that I won't be disappointed.
No, I don't think you will be. And it really marries the original really well. There's those concepts that are carried through, but no spoilers, of course.
Okay, good.
But if you are a fan of the original. But yeah, that character, Candyman's pretty creepy.
Yeah, especially when you're a kid and
bees.
people will sort of talk about, well, don't say it in the mirror and things like that. It was just, I think things like that just freak kids out anyway, because you're just like, well, I'm not going to try. I don't believe in it, but I'm not going to try it. Like, I'm not insane.
That's the thing. Yeah, I know, for sure. Okay, we're getting close to the halfway point, so they're going to get scarier, hopefully, as we go along. Number 6 is Pinhead. Physically, you look at him physically, I mean, that's pretty creepy stuff.
Yeah. The gore and stuff. I mean, all of the kind of the Hellraiser monsters, I think, are very grotesque. So if gore and things like that like really freak you out, then definitely they are pretty horrifying. It's not something you'd want to wake up and see at the end of the bed in the middle of the night.
How are we not getting a new Pinhead movie, by the way?
Yeah. I feel like a Hellraiser remake or something is really long overdue, because there were so many of them. We've had Halloween now. It would be great for a Hellraiser remake. Or a reboot would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Hopefully there's one in production. I haven't said anything about it. I'll do some research. Okay, we're at the halfway point, and I'm a little surprised that he only cracks the number 5, and that's Leatherface. I was pretty terrified of Leatherface. Of course, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This overgrown, grotesque. He's wearing other people's skin on his face. He's got this chainsaw chasing him. I mean, that's creepy stuff. Anytime I go to the country, I'm like, do not let us run out of gas or the car break down.
Yeah. I think that the realistic like part of you is just sort of like, well, look, he's not scary too much, but like actually having the thought of someone chasing after you with someone else's face and a chainsaw is pretty terrifying. Yeah, it's kind of why I'm scared to kind of go to like the Outback because of Wolf Creek and things like that. Just things I'm just like, no, I'm good, thanks.
That's right. And he's such a big guy. That's the thing too.
Yeah.
A lot of these horror monsters, and I'm sure we'll see the ones I'm talking about as we get through the physicality. I mean, you can't fight these people off.
No.
Leatherface, no chance. 0 chance. Number 4, I would have pegged him as close to number 1. It's Freddy Krueger, I guess.
Yeah.
Does he fall in kind of the Chucky territory where he's kind of, quote unquote funny? Is that why you think?
I think he's definitely become kind of more comedic, but I think the reason he's closer is because he still haunts a lot of people's nightmares. Even though you try and rationalize, and like I said before, it's with Candyman, and you say, I don't believe it. It's just a film. It's fine. There's still a tiny part of you that's like, is it though? Is he gonna like murder me in my nightmare? It's a scary thought. It's something that I think traumatized a lot of children when they watched it, and that kind of carries on into your adult years. So he's got a quirk. He's got a funny quirk, but he's still terrifying. He's
terrifying with one-liners. That's my favorite. Yeah. It's the glove with the knives, and then the whole
face.
The face. I mean, come on. Yeah. So yeah, I would have put him maybe as number 2 or even number 1 for me. So I'm curious to see who cracks the top 3. All right, number 3. Okay, I'm not going to argue too much with Pennywise, that dancing clown, especially in the newer films.
Yes.
Really creepy stuff.
Yeah, he's definitely way scarier, in my opinion, in the remakes, the reboots, than he was the Tim Curry version.
Yeah.
I think if you have a fear of clowns, you'll be scared regardless. But yeah, the new one, we went and saw the new one when it came out on my birthday, and I was just like, oh, wow, like he is terrifying. Skarsgård does an incredible job.
He really does. And what he does with the voice and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I have a fear of clowns because of him.
Yeah, he causes it.
My mom was reading it when I was a kid, and she had the book, and there was a clown, like the clown on the cover.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what the book was about, and I would just see this lying around, and that's why I don't like clowns. Thank you. Thanks, Mom. Pennywise takes number 3. Let's jump to number 2. All right, I was waiting for Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th. Yeah, this is one of those. This is what I was talking with the physicality. I mean, this guy. I mean, he walks pretty slow.
Yeah.
But when he catches you, you got no chance.
Yeah, you might have a chance to outrun him, I think. But yeah, if you are trapped in a corner, you've not got a chance. He's a very big lumbering man, and I think the fact that it's the mask, I think, that causes the fear for a lot of this. It's this big guy, you can't see his face, he's emotionless, and he's wielding a machete. So that's not something you want to see when you're just trying to have a nice summer in summer camp, and not good.
Yeah, not even summer camp. I mean, he went to space at one point.
Yeah.
So and
no one is safe.
You're not safe anywhere with Jason Voorhees.
No.
All right, a few honorable mentions before we get to number 1. And I have a good idea who number 1 is at this point. Jeepers Creepers makes the honorable mentions. The Creeper, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being a little creeped out by that guy. Annabelle, going back to the dolls.
Yeah. Dolls, I think, are just known for just being creepy, even if they're not possessed by demons. So yeah, that's very definitely.
Babadook.
Yeah, he scared me.
Yeah,
a lot.
Before we get to number 1, was there any newer ones, or maybe ones that?
There again, this is just particular for me. There's the witch in the kind of reboot of the Blair Witch. You briefly see her, and she's just kind of she has very long arms and legs, and that really creeped me out. And the gangling man from Scary Stories is, he's terrifying. I did not like him at all.
No, I know what you're talking about. Hey, listen, that Blair Witch reboot that didn't do so well. At the box office, I think is a little underrated. I actually kind of liked it. Yeah,
I thought it was pretty good. It kind of had good twists in there, and you got to see the witch for the first time, and she's horrible. I hated it. It really scared me.
All right, let's jump to our number 1. We've all pretty much figured it out that it is Michael Myers from Halloween. The
OG.
Every Halloween, and by the way, we're getting close to Are we in spooky season? Have some people started early?
Yeah, I would say it's spooky season, but I'm a huge Halloween fan, so I start in like August. So,
well, every season as we get close to Halloween, I have to watch the original. The original Halloween, and it always holds up. It's always so great.
Yes.
And the remakes are pretty fantastic as well, especially the recent one. We got the follow up coming up very, very soon. But yeah, I would agree. Michael Myers is pretty terrifying stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact he's just an unrelenting force. He's someone who should be human, but obviously isn't, because he just doesn't die. Nothing can kill this guy. And I think that's what's so scary, is the fact that he is just so unrelenting. And whenever you think you've got rid of him, he just disappears and he comes back again. I just feel so sorry for Jamie Lee Curtis, who's been fighting him for, so many years. But is still a badass doing it, so that's fine. Love a bit of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes, but now in those remakes, I'm kind of afraid of her now, too.
God, yeah. Don't mess with her.
No, Jamie Lee Curtis. She'll have her yogurt and she'll come right after you.
Oh, yeah. Scary grandma.
All right. Well, hey, listen, if you want to check out this list, this is the Redux. You can click the link, and I'm sure there'll be a new updated one in the years to come. And hey, I want to know what you guys think at home. Do you agree? What's your number 1? Who are the scariest movie monsters? Drop it in the comments. Kirsten, thank you so much for joining me once again here on Poppin the Culture.
It's been a pleasure.
Hey, what's your next cosplay? What can we look forward to?
I have a Claire Redfield cosplay coming up, as well as a Rosalina from Mario. So, yeah, a couple of a bit opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's okay. They've always got a twist. That's the good thing about my cosplays. You got to check them out. There's always a twist.
I'm in. I'm so in. All right, folks, it's time for our Mojo Chat of the Week. Here's number 1 of 2. My guest today is the star of the new indie horror film, Demonic. That's right. It's from the mind of Neil Blomkamp. Hey, it's Carly Pope. Carly, how are you today?
Hi, Matt. I'm well. Sun is shining. My dog's wagging her tail. Everything's good.
Hey, listen, you're painting a picture of sunshine and roses, but this movie, man, I just told you seconds ago, I watched it. I made the mistake of watching it at night. My sleep wasn't so good. Okay, I want to talk to you all about some of the stuff that went into making the movie, because there's some interesting elements, bit of a experimental stuff. But first, if someone buys a ticket to Demonic, if they rent it, they got their girlfriend or boyfriend, they snuggle up, what can they expect? No spoilers, of course, but what can they expect out of this one?
Okay, they can expect possession, they can expect penance, and they can expect pyrotechnics.
Oh,
That's all I'm going to say about
I
it.
like it. Hey, I like that. I like that. Okay, well, let's dig in, because like I said, this is from Neil Blomkamp, and people might be thinking, oh, I know that name. He did District 9. He did a lot of other kind of high concept sci-fi movies. This is his first foray into horror.
Yeah.
A little bit of a lower scale, but what's there is the ingenuity, the experimentation. Okay, tell me about the making, because there's something, and I wrote it down, because you can tell me all about this. What was it? The experience in volumetric capture. What was that?
It is so strange, and it's such an interesting, innovative technology that I think the application of it has been in more kind of like the medical field and things like that, because you effectively can get a 3-dimensional geometric object and place it into real-time environments photoreal environments, so that you can get a sense of it from all angles. So in the terms of this film, that construct is within my character's mother's mind. So I'm entering this space, and in this space we meet in her mind.
Yeah.
Very intimate and very scary endeavor.
I read something that this process incorporates something like 200 or some odd cameras to capture. Is that true?
Yeah, that's right. It's built in like a circular, like a cage, basically. Wow. And we had, it's about a 5-meter space, and we had 260 cameras. And then we also had a smaller cage that we were using to capture kind of like more close up, images, because the resolution is just not quite there yet. So we had to do like a closer image, which was probably more of like a 3-meter space. And so there was camera on camera on camera, wire on wire, technology on technology. Everything was a buzz. Everything was probably alive, and it was a unique experience.
Yeah, I have one camera on me, and I'm already self-conscious about my hair. I can only imagine, 260. No, it's interesting. And you say, the look of it is kind of grainy. It's unrefined, but that only adds to the realism, the authenticity, if you will, of your character going into those spaces,
and some of that's by design too, like some of it is the capacity of the technology, and some of it is a little bit by design to kind of create this glitchy, discordant world.
Yeah, of course. The other thing that must have been challenging, and I've talked to a few actors who have been doing projects over the past year or two, is that this was done right in the thick of the pandemic. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I can imagine making a movie with so many moving parts and so many different people involved, that must have been a challenge.
No, you're absolutely correct. It was definitely right in the thick of it. We shot basically we started shooting right at the beginning of July of 2020. And we wrapped up once everything was complete around October of 2020. And it was one of the first projects that was shooting in like in a live environment. Like it wasn't over Zoom. It wasn't, you know, we weren't shooting over screens. We were shooting in person.
Yeah.
And so, you know, protocols were not yet in place, and the union was still trying to figure out how to operate and keep everybody safe. And you know, in the case of us, we had a small crew, we had a small cast, we were shooting in a small town. So it was all, you know, it was all smaller scale, and that inherently just lent itself to feeling a lot more protective. And and you know, the nice thing about it too is, yes, we were pandemic shot, but we weren't pandemic set. So it was kind of like, once we were doing the work, we could kind of just like forget about what was happening outside for a little bit, and then, you know, put on our mask every time we finished, and go to sleep, start again the next day.
This was shot in Vancouver. Am I right about that?
No, it was shot in the interior of British Columbia. So we shot in a place called Penticton, which is sort of like, you know, lake and wine country of British Columbia. And then we also shot in Kamloops, which is sort of like, it's all sort of high desert.
Yeah. Well, the reason I mentioned that is because the visuals look great as well. So I actually want to take a
beautiful part of the country for sure.
If your movie wasn't so scary, I'd want to take a vacation there. This is, like I said, this is a creep-tastic film that kind of gets under your skin, supernatural horror. Not as an actress, but as a person, as a film goer, is this a genre that you enjoy?
I'm like a casual horror watcher, and that's mainly because I unlike you, could never watch a horror film at night before going to sleep. And also it's very particular. Like I usually, the light, like the sun has to be up, or like there has to be light in the sky. I have to not be alone. You know, it's very particular. I do enjoy it. I like the punch that they pack, but I'm just a bit more specific about how and when I watch them.
No, you're gonna watch this movie, turn the lights off.
Yeah.
Don't watch Care Bears afterwards. You're gonna want to go straight to sleep. All right,
like shovel popcorn, just emotionally get through it. Emotionally eat to get through it. Yeah.
Hey, that's half the fun. All right, before I let you go, I talk to a lot of people that do these horror films, and they're like, "All right, that's it. One's enough. I've done it. I enjoyed it, or maybe not so much." And then other people are like, "I got to do more." Can we expect Carly in more horror films?
I would be so lucky as to be invited back. I just, you know, my vocal cords are just getting warmed up.
Absolutely. Scream Queen. I love it. Well, Carly, thank you so much for joining us today. And we encourage everyone to check out Demonic in theaters and video on demand.
Sweet. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
The movie is Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman. And I've got the writer and director, Daniel, here with us. And one of the stars, Holland. Hey, guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Sorry about the technical hiccups before we got here, but it's good to be here.
You know what? We live in the virtual world. It's all, hey, we got to live with it. I mean, let's talk about this movie in particular. And Daniel, I'm going to start with you because you're the writer, you're the director. I mentioned at the top, Ted Bundy. Listen, I'm a sucker for these true life crime stories, and obviously anything Ted Bundy just draws me right in. There's been a lot over the past couple of years. So I guess the question is for you, why another Ted Bundy? What drew you to that story in particular?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like there's always like these films that kind of hit the zeitgeist at the same time. You know what I mean? Like we kind of revisit, I don't know, take your pick, you know, asteroid movies. They always seems to be like a succession of them. You know, I don't know that there was any conscious decision on my part to like, oh, let's jump on the Bundy train. I think it was an idea that had been kind of living in the back of my head for a while. But I think the thing that kind of gave it form for me were a couple of the recent, well, one's not as recent anymore, but a couple of years ago now, Conversations with the Killer was a documentary on Netflix that dealt with the tapes that were recorded of Ted Bundy during his incarceration, where he, you know, confessed but also really manipulated the people that were trying to extract a confession from him. And then also the second documentary that really affected me was called, I think it was Falling for a Killer. It was on Amazon, and it was about Bundy's, you know, longtime girlfriend and her, at the time, her young daughter, who had come to this terrifying realization that the man that they loved was this horrific monster. So those were the things that were kind of playing in my head at the time, not thinking like, oh, let's just do another movie. I think what really struck me though was that, and I felt that, again, not to diminish anybody else's portrayals, because I think that all of these movies have been excellent in their own way, but I think what I wanted to do with ours was to really show that Bundy was a monster, that he was not a misunderstood genius or a male model that just knew how to like manipulate women and draw them into his web. He wasn't any of those things. He was a monster who just had enough of charisma to be able to draw, to prey on the sympathies of these young women that became his victims. And also, what intrigued me was the story of Kathy McChesney, played so brilliantly by Holland, whose story had never really been told in any film. And I just thought to really pay homage to the law enforcement that worked so hard and against so many odds to be able to capture this man at a time when technology was not our friend at all. So it didn't exist yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And Holland, let's pivot to you because as Daniel just mentioned, your character is very pivotal in this retelling. As an actor though, you're playing someone that exists, a real life person. Is that intimidating? I feel like that might be an intimidating process. Was it for you?
It wasn't, just because I absolutely love nonfiction. They're my favorite kind of books and they're my favorite kind of screenplays. And so I always, you really have kind of a rule book, so to speak, when you are playing someone that has actually existed. And to play someone that was one of the first people in the 70s working for the Seattle Police Department to take a psychological approach instead of the evidence-based approach was sort of a first of its kind. And she was rewarded by transferring to the FBI and ended up in one of the top level positions there till just recently when she retired. So for me, obviously they're big shoes to fill professionally, but I love when there's a rule book, so to speak. And I think, like Dan said, her story has never been told. And so I absolutely love this approach. It's a large reason of why I wanted to be a part of the film, is because it was taking the law enforcement's perspective of Ted Bundy.
Yeah, and let's talk about the cast for a second, because obviously we mentioned you're wonderful. Ted Bundy is portrayed here by Chad Michael Murray, who people might be thinking of. I know that guy. He was a teen heartthrob, One Tree Hill. He's done all kinds of other things. And to Daniel's point, you really see him as a monster in this character. What was your experiences working with Chad and the other great members of the cast as well?
Well, I only actually saw him twice in the film. So we have very little interaction, which Dan did on purpose, sort of the two polar opposites, and keeping that tension by keeping us further apart, and how much I can hate him from a distance. I thought was really well written, and he was lovely. I didn't get to work with him that much, because we only had 2 interactions on screen. So even the things we were shooting were just usually even different days, or I would be done for the day and then he would come in for his scenes. So we sort of saw each other like 2 passing ships. But he was lovely. He was living in a similar part of town that I was going to be moving to. So he was, just sort of basic housekeeping, small talk. But he was lovely. He was lovely.
Yeah, I think if
you guys they always had a wall between them. Like in all the scenes, there was like, he was being interrogated on the other side of the wall. So yeah, Holland didn't ever really get to act with him until, we
never spoke.
Kind of come to a head. But yeah, there was always, there was always a wall.
Except for the end.
Except for the end. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's great. And like I said, or I was going to say, if I ever run into Chad Michael Murray on the street, I might keep my distance after watching this movie. He does such a great job, as does everybody. Daniel, let's switch back to you for a second, because listen, you've done a film now. We did the Ted Bundy, we did the Sharon Tate. Your filmography is just horror tinged. Obviously, there's a passion there. And we here at WatchMojo, we love our horror films, not just the true life stuff, but all kinds, all genres. What is it about horror for you that you dedicated your career to?
I know, and it kind of wasn't, horror movies themselves, you know, one of my earliest credits was I written one of the Halloween sequels, you know, early in my career. Gave Paul Rudd a career. So every time he's in a movie, I'm like, he owes it all to me.
We owe Paul Rudd to you.
That's right, absolutely. It was actually his very first feature film before he actually made Clueless. So he did Halloween 6. So it was that was the beginning for all of us. But no, you know, for me, I've always loved the sort of roller coaster aspect of horror films. I think some people love roller coasters, others don't. I think there's a kind of similar kind of mentality that goes with it when you love horror films. But I think these are a different breed. I think these films, they're shining a light on things that really happened. And I think it makes a certain group of people very uncomfortable because you're talking about things that actually affected real lives, and that is never lost on me, and certainly wasn't on Holland or anybody involved in this film or any other ones I've done. I think we're always mindful to be respectful and honor those people. And I think Holland's character in this film, in particular, is kind of the voice of those victims. She's the one standing up for them. She's the one trying to seek justice for them. And I really feel like that portrayal is incredibly important, especially now at a time when, you know, victims are finally being heard. And here we are in 1974 with this lone kind of rookie policewoman who was fighting her own battles of sexism and things, having to stand up for these young girls who really, other than through her, didn't, and their families who didn't have, you know, anything to bring to it other than their pain and suffering, but she related to that, she understood it, and she fought for justice for those victims. So for me, that's the heart of what the story is about.
Yeah, and at the end, there's a great scene in the film where Holland's character, you know, she lists off all these characters. What about this person? What about this person? Which is great. And of course, at the end, we show I always love that at the end of the movies that are based on true stories, where you show the real photos and you give the, you know, a little bit of that backstory adds so much to the film. Holland, similar question to you, because looking at your acting credits, I mean, you've been in a lot of horror tinged projects yourself, from Teen Wolf all the way to Escape Room, the second one come out. Well, what is it for you? And by the way, do you enjoy watching a good horror film?
I actually do get scared pretty easily. So I am hesitant to watch depending on the type of horror that it is. But if I know I'm going to be around people, I'm definitely one of those types that I'm okay to watch any kind of horror. But if I'm going to be sort of the norm by myself, then I can't get too scared. Well, I started on Teen Wolf, and I had actually booked this like HBO dark comedy before that just never aired. So there was a very different path that was set up for me initially, but as actors' lives go, you go where the work is. And when I was hired on Teen Wolf, I didn't know what I was getting into. I was happy I had a job, and I got to know. I loved the pilot. I thought it read really well. I just started acting about 2 years into that point, or maybe a year and a half. So I hadn't read a ton of scripts, but I felt there was something about that script, and that was special. And when it aired, and it did become quite a successful show for so long, I knew I had a hunch, and so I was just glad that hunch was right. And working with Jeff, he's an excellent writer. He writes that Lost Boys, Hughes, you know, somewhat of a Hughesian friendship buddy comedy world so well within horror. So I really enjoyed that with Teen Wolf, was having those comedic moments within horror. And then as far as the escape room movies, I absolutely love escape rooms. And I thought it's a great idea to make a movie based on, you know, that's a popular trend right now. So I went to the first escape room in Austria prior to filming either escape room. So it was a bit of a coincidence, just the collection of films that have come together, and obviously are horror based. Lore was something that, again, it was based off of a real person named Bridget Cleary, one of the last witches in the 20th century, was in Ireland, you know, so to speak, these honor killings that were legal. And so I love, if I can base it off nonfiction, it's definitely one of my favorite things to do. But yeah, it's really, I will say, a coincidence that the collection has built up this much. Yeah.
Well, we like watching you in those films, and we look forward to all of the rest to come. Daniel, I'll give the last word to you. American Boogeyman, it's available on all those video on demand platforms out there. give us a final word of what you hope people take from that movie.
Yeah, I hope honestly what people take from it is obviously it is a scary movie. It doesn't shy away from the violent acts committed by Ted Bundy, but really the heart of the film is the victims and those who fought so diligently and against such great odds to bring this man to justice. And I think that walking out, the takeaway from the film is I just hope that we look at these stories from our not so brilliant past, and think about one another more, take care of each other more, be aware of what's around us, and have compassion.
Amazing. All right. Well, Daniel, Holland, we won't take up any more of your time. Thank you so much for joining us today. And a reminder, it's Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman. You can watch it, like I said, on all the video on demand platforms you can find. Well, that's going to do it for another episode, everybody. My thanks to Holland and Daniel and Carly and Kirsten for joining in on all the fun this week. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And hey, remember, anything you want us to chat about here on the show, just drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Till next time, I've been Mr. Hollywood, Poppin the Culture.